India's GDP fall in perspective. So as you know that the recent statistics have shown that this year India's GDP has fallen by minus 7.3%. Now, there are two reasons behind that. There are two reasons why GDP in India has been falling. One is that, there has been a once in a century or perhaps once in a millennium crisis that we are seeing in the form of COVID pandemic. So not just India, almost every major economy, it has hurt badly because of lockdown and other restrictions. Second is, there are certain inherent weaknesses that we have in the Indian economy, because of which the growth rate has been falling from last 5 years. COVID, you can blame COVID for everything, but if you see this graph, if you see this trajectory, you will see this. Between 96 to 2000, we were growing. Then suddenly our growth collapsed in 2001. Then it started again growing. And see, we were mostly, or after 2000, majority of the years, our growth rate was in the upward trajectory. But if you see in last 5 years, the trajectory is very clear. It is going down. Since 2016, if you see, this is a watershed year. After that, if you are seeing the growth rate, it has been falling. Right, before that it was going up and down, but since 5 years the growth rate trajectory is very clear and it has been falling downwards. So COVID problem emerged in March 2020, but India's growth rate have been falling since 2016 and we all know why. We will discuss that in the reasons part. So that is a clear indicator that there are certain inherent problems in the Indian economy. And it's not just the GDP growth. We need to see the other indicators also to come to a conclusion that all is not right with the Indian economy. We are facing what we call as structural problem. Right? It's not a seasonal problem. Seasonal problem can be solved in a quarter or two. Right, but if an economy has structural weaknesses, right, then it takes a lot of time for the economy to be revived. Right. So see this thing again. The same thing is showing that cycle one is 2000 to 2003, down cycle, up cycle, down cycle. So every phase we are seeing down up, but this is the only phase where we are seeing, if you divided the years into 4 years bracket, this is the or 5 years bracket, this is the only phase where we are only seeing downward curve. There is no upward cycle. Also, if we talk of, so because you need to understand this thing, that in 2019-20 itself, before the or in the pre-COVID era, India's growth rate has fallen to 3.9%. Right, and this 3.9% means that we were back to the Hindu rate of growth which we were witnessing before the pre-liberalization or before 1980. 1980 could be called as a watershed moment in Indian economy, because since 1980, Indian economy has been growing more than 5%. But before 1980, during the License Raj era of Indira Gandhi, during the era of Mrs. Gandhi, we were witnessing the same growth, 3%, 3.5%. Right, so after 40 years, we were back to the Hindu rate of growth. Right, if we talk of the per capita income, we need to understand this also, that the per capita income in India, it's same which we witnessed in 2016. And this is again the first time it's happening with the Indian economy. Indian economy mein per capita income has been increasing since independence. But this is the first time what we are seeing is that the per capita income in 2021 is equivalent to per capita income in 2016. And this is the reason why Bangladesh's per capita income became higher than India's per capita income, because since 16 Bangladesh per capita income has been growing rapidly. But this is not the case with the India's per capita income, because India's per capita income has been stagnant. Right, so Bangladesh per capita income was 60% that of India in 2016, but now it's more than India. And if things go like this, probably it will be double to India in next 5 years. Right. Similarly, there are other indicators. Other indicators include the unemployment rate, which is again a major problem. And this is a problem which is not, the origin of this problem does not lie with this government. Even the earlier the UPA government, we had the same problem. The term jobless growth, which has been coined, it resembles India's growth story since last 30 years, 1991. 1991, when we liberalized our economy, the basic problem which emerged was that India never focused on its basic education. So, because we never focused on our basic education, so hua kya कि when economy got liberalized, India's growth story was led by services sector, right? And within the services sector, it was led by IT, telecom, business services, and all of them were not big employers. So their contribution in the Indian GDP was very high, but its contribution to India's total job creation was very low. In an economy, only manufacturing sector can create jobs at mass scale. And India may, because of labor laws, because of other weaknesses, small scale sector reservations, manufacturing sector did not really picked up. And though it picked up between 2005 and 8, but then again, mostly it was those capital intensive manufacturing sector which picked up. The labor intensive sector never picked up in last 30 years. Therefore, jobless growth to problem thi. But this unemployment problem worsened in last 5 years, in last 8 years. I was not 5 years, 8 years, 2012 to 2020. 9 million people have lost employment in last 8 years, and the unemployment rate, which was just 1 or 2% in India, historically it is running around 6 to 7%. The unemployment rate in India is somewhere around 6 to 7%. Which is historic high. Even the government data showed that in 2017-18, India's unemployment was 45-year high. See, you need to understand one more thing. It is the economic might of a country which also decides its diplomacy, which also decides its strategic weight. Why did nobody took China seriously till 1980s? Nobody took China seriously in the 1980s. Why? Because it did not have the economic might. Now everybody is looking towards China. Why? Because now China has the money power. Why is everyone looking towards Bangladesh? Because Bangladesh is an emerging economic power. So only when you have economic power, the other power can only be realized when your economy is strong. Right? Now, if we talk of unemployment by 6 to 7%, even, and one thing which is more surprising is the fact that the labor force participation, which is how many people are willing to take a job, even that number is falling. Even that number is falling. Even after that, the unemployment rate has been historic high in India. We have not been able to create enough jobs in last few years. Similarly, another issue is inflation rate. So when this government came to power, it got certain what we call as boon, which is in the form of fall in the crude oil price. Crude oil price, which was running at $115 per barrel in 2013, fell to $30 per barrel by 2015. And because of that, because as you know that crude oil is used, or oil is used as a raw material in various industrial productions. And similarly, every product has to go from factory to market, right? And if it has to go to factory to market, it needs a mode of transportation. So if oil prices decreases, then the transportation cost also decreases. So when oil prices decreases, it affects almost all the sectors in India, right? So because of that, inflation significantly decreased for the first few years, but with rise in crude oil prices, inflation in India has again been increasing, right? So inflation is also not at a comfortable position. Similarly, another thing is fiscal deficit. So why is fiscal deficit important? Why should we control fiscal deficit? Because what is fiscal deficit? First of all, we need to understand. Fiscal deficit means total, in very easy language, it means total expenditure or total income minus total expenditure. The total income of the government, both from capital revenue and both from capital received and revenue received, and the total expenditure, both revenue and capital. I hope these things are clear with you, because you need to basic books, so you need to cover if you need to understand these lectures. Because if I start explaining fiscal deficit and all these concepts, the lecture length will go to 4 hours. Only my lecture length. So that is not feasible for majority of the Janata. So you need to be clear with these concepts. So fiscal deficit is total expenditure minus total total income minus total revenue. So if there is high fiscal deficit, it leads to two consequences. High fiscal deficit leads to two consequences. Consequence number one is it leads to crowding out effect of the private sector. Now, what is crowding out effect? Let's understand this by an example again. So, suppose in an economy there is only 100 crore rupees of loanable fund. Only 100 crore rupees of loanable fund. Right? Now, suppose government borrows 70 crore of that. Right? So, now how much fund is left? 30 crore. If you have read your basic economics book, you know this concept that if supply of anything reduces, what happens? Its price increases. When supply of anything increases, what happens? Its price, when supply decreases, price increases. When there is a scarcity, what happens? Price increases. Right? So, in this case, the price of loanable fund is what? Interest rate. So, when the supply of loanable fund will reduce, the interest rate will increase. Which means that private sector who wants to start a new business, who wants to go for a new investment, it will have to pay more interest rate if it borrows loan from the market. And because the interest rate is high, it discourages new investment. So, that is why it is called as crowding out effect. So, when fiscal deficit is high, then there is less loanable fund remaining for the private sector, which means the interest rate will increase, which will lead to fall in private investment, which is what we call as crowding out effect. Okay. Second is, if government borrows more, then in future it can lead to what we call as debt trap. Debt trap means ultimately government is borrowing more and more money to pay back the earlier loans it has taken. So, government borrowing money not for building roads, not for building hospitals, but government borrowing money for repaying the previous loan, and that is not feasible in any economy, right? Because that is a wasteful, that is a loan for wasteful purposes. So, fiscal deficit ki agar hum baat kare, that has, the government has shown that it has the number has been maintained to the target level, but many experts are saying that there has been some accounting exercises, and in reality the fiscal deficit number has been much higher. And last is rupee versus dollar. So, rupee was 59 in 2014 and now it is 73, which means that the imports which we do from outside, that has also become expensive because of fall in the value of rupee, especially oil. Now, why decline in growth? Why there is so much decline in growth in last 5 years? We need to understand. So, first and the main reason is over leveraged corporate sector. To understand this thing, we'll understand this through an equation. See, there is GDP equals to C plus I plus G plus X minus N. Right? C is consumption, I is investment, private investment, G is government expenditure, and this is net exports, export minus imports. Now, these are like the four tires of a car. These are like four tires of a car. And if one of the tire does not function well, the car will shake. If two tires of the car doesn't work, it makes things even more tougher. The car will probably face an accident. If three tires does not function well, then it's total chaos. What we are seeing in last 5 years is at least three tires of Indian economy are not functioning. So how will the GDP grow when three tires are not growing? You need to understand that investment in India has been falling 38%, so now it's around 30% because of over leveraged corporate sector. The corporate sector took a lot of loan during the boom years of UPA, and they had expectations that whatever business they will do, they will succeed in that. But then 2010, 11, we saw that the growth started falling, and we also saw that there was environmental activism, there was Supreme Court activism, there was land acquisition law, and there were certain other things also, policy paralysis and all. So because of that, when this government came to power, these corporates were already over leveraged. They had taken a lot of loan during the earlier period, and therefore they don't have appetite now to take further loans, because now they have become risk averse. They feel that if we will start a new investment, the new investment will also fail, the new businesses also fail, and we will become even more over leveraged. Secondly, because many of these corporates defaulted on loan, it resulted into NPA crisis. banks जो लोन दे रहे थे वो लोन उनको वापस नहीं मिल रहे थे. So banks also become risk averse, and that is what is called by economic survey as twin balance sheet problem. That the balance sheet of both the corporate sector and the banking sector has been over leveraged, which means they are wrong, they are messy. Arvind Subramanian, who was the former chief economic advisor, recently last year said that now this twin balance sheet problem has actually become a four balance sheet problem. Now the balance sheet of NBFCs and government is also messy. So basically what happened was that if we again come back to this car story, I has not been functioning well, right? Let me draw it again. Okay, let's understand it again. So I to nahi kar raha because of over leveraged corporate sector. Export has been falling because of certain structural issues in India, and secondly because of deglobalization. So what we are seeing across the world is that the countries which wanted to integrate the economies, the Western countries which wanted to integrate the economy with the world, now they are moving towards deglobalization, which means they have seen in last 30 years that because of globalization, the working class in these countries, their interests have been hurted badly, and therefore we saw the emergence of right-wing leaders like Boris Johnson in UK, Trump in USA, Bolsonaro in Brazil, Marie Le Pen became very strong in France. So because of these people, Geert Wilders in New Zealand, in Holland became very strong. He is also a far right leader. So because of these people, because of right wing at the helm, these countries are moving towards deglobalization, which means they don't want to promote integration with the rest of the economy, and that is also hurting the exports from India. because they have imposed many tariff and non-tariff barriers. ठीक है ना? And we have certain structural issues also. हमारे अभी exports में there have been issues. Some people say that the rupee is overvalued. Because of that, our exports have become uncompetitive. Also, the government expenditure was not doing well, at least the first 2 years. So, India's growth story between 2016 to 2018 or 2018 was led by only one tire, which was consumption. Consumption was robust. So, and this consumption was not original consumption, it was basically ये था कि वो loan based consumption था, debt based consumption था. Now you must be confused कि अगर NPA crisis है तो इनको loan दे कौन रहा था? So it is these NBFCs who were giving them loans. NBFCs are different from banks. They don't have to follow these CRR and SLR norms. IIFC and all these, Divan banking and all these things, they are all example of NBFCs. Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, all of these are NBFCs. ठीक है ना? Muthoot Finance, right? So it is these NBFCs which were giving loan to people, to middle class, and because of that loan, consumption was still robust. But even this pillar fell in 2018-19 when there was NBFC crisis. Now what is NBFC crisis? So एक ILFS था, जो कि ILFS जो एक infrastructure financing company थी, it defaulted on its short-term papers. Because of that, पूरे it created panic in almost all the sectors, and because of that, even NBFCs became risk averse and they stopped lending. So even this pillar fell, and when this pillar fell, then the Indian economy's growth fell to 3.9% in 2020, before the COVID started. ठीक है? इसके अलावा there is demonetization, again very important reason, very important, because it somehow, Indian economy is cash-based economy, and somehow it resulted into crash in demand. Similarly, flawed GST was made very complicated, which meant that for at least for 1.5 years, it became very tough for the businessmen to adjust. And lastly, rural crisis. So India's overall agriculture growth has been decent in last 7 years. It's almost around 3%. But if we divide the agriculture growth, we find that the agriculture growth is led by commercial crops. जो non-commercial crops हैं, जिसमें maximum farmers are engaged, for example, those who grow wheat, rice, sugarcane, their growth rate has only increased by 0.6%. And since they constitute majority of the rural janta, because of that, the demand from rural areas have been very subdued in last 7 years. One reason why manufacturing grew between 2005 and 8 was because the rural growth was very strong. The agriculture growth was close to 4% during that time. Because of that, it created a lot of demand for these industrial goods, TV, fridge, agriculture machinery, etc., etc. But because agriculture growth has been slow, because of that, it did not create enough demand for the manufacturing sector. So this is what we have in the first phase. अब ये आउटलुक ऑन ग्रोथ क्या है? आउटलुक ऑन ग्रोथ यही है कि भाई कंजम्पशन सेक्टर जो बिगेस्ट हमारा मेन इंजन था, that has been also falling. So the outlook on growth it's not very optimistic.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update from Civil's Daily.